Why Turkey? Ataturk, Kemalism, and the democratization of Turkey by Reginald Reed. This is from my Middle East Politics Government 653 class, Regent University. Um, the question is, can Islam and democracy coexist? Islamic democracy. The notion that in the MENA region of a popular sovereignty as a foundation of government, the idea of representation elections, popular suffrage, universal popular suffrage, political institutions being regulated by laws, being guarded and upheld by independent judiciary. This is something that's hot at U.S. foreign policy since September 11, 2001. Former President George W. Bush had a vision of transforming the Middle East, of fighting a global war on terror to combat the rise of radical Islam. His vision was to create a democratized Middle East. This has failed due to the reality of U.S. American domestic policy, and also just the reality of radical Islam is a powerful thread. The father of modern Turkey, Kemal Ataturk, was born in 1881. His parents were Aliya Raza and his mother was Zubide. He had a military training school at Montier. He graduated in 1895. He entered Work College at Haveri, graduated in 1904. He played a minor role in the 1908 revolution. For one reason, he was the Young Turk 1908 revolution. The reason why he played such a significant role is because he was stationed in Syria. 6 years later, the Great War begins, August 1914. He led troops in defense of Gallipoli when the Allied forces landed in 1915. Churchill's gamble to drive Turkey out of the war eventually failed. Led to a stalemate. It led to a stalemate on Gallipoli, just as it was in the Western Front. 1918, World War I ends. He organized opposition groups to combat the 1919. 1919 led opposition groups that combated Italians and Greeks, the Allied army that had invaded and occupied Turkey. It began to organize a resistance against his forces. Turks drive out Italians and Greeks. Ataturk becomes national leader. Ataturk and the British Foreign Minister George Curzon redesigned the boundaries of Turkey. The collapse of the Ottoman Empire. It left intact Kurdistan, parts of Armenia, which still haunts Turkey to this day. Kemalism had 6 arrows: republicanism, nationalism, populism, revolutionism, and secularism. Ataturk passed away in 1938. His successor, Ismet Inönü, liberalizes regime after World War II, curved favor with the West. Turkey is on the Soviet border, so they were looking to a historical enemy of the West, or the historical enemy of Russia, the Russian Empire. So they were looking to they sided with the West, was looking for allies. He formed the Democratic Party in 1946. Democrats win 1950 elections. This did not sit well with some of the interests that were ensconced in the bureaucracy, political and military bureaucracy in Turkey. There was a military coup in 1960. The military created a bicameral legislature, a constitutional court, organized new elections. Power transferred back to civil government by the end of 1961. Unlike in Latin America, Turkey has a tendency to they have a military intervention, but they give the power back to the people. 2 pillars emerged in the first 2 decades of Ataturk's republic. 2 pillars emerged: nationalism and secularism. Those 2 threads have woven through politics, the political institution of Turkey. Transition to multipolar democracy, altered political environment, and identity problems in Turkey. Turkey is a unitary republic, and a parliamentary democracy. During the Cold War, left and right issues characterized political decisions. Turkey is a member of NATO and the EU. The Prime Minister, as the top executive, heads the Council of Ministers and can dismiss ministers at will. The 1980 Constitution was to strongly reassert authority of the state, set up security courts with military as well as civilian judges. The President was chosen by National Assembly with a series of constitutional amendments. This has been altered to allow for direct election by the people. Ataturk, in conclusion, Ataturk was an autocrat. He was a proto-fascist. There were strands of nationalism and socialism, autocrat, massive statism. So he was a proto-fascist. He was a nationalist and he was a socialist. In Germany, they call that Nazis. But he did westernize. He did modernize some of Turkey. Turkey is a liberal democracy, an evolving liberal democracy, just as England was. Went for the Magna Carta, to the English Bill of Rights, to William and Mary, to the American colonies, compacts that served in the various colonial powers, colonial governments. The United States has moved from a slave society. Some parts of the country have massive human rights violations, particularly in the South. We moved past that. Turkey is just growing and evolving. Democracy is a long process. Freedom is a long, political freedom is a long process. And Turkey does have the roots and ability to do so. Evolving liberal democracy may be the best avenue for Turkey. That may be the best model for bringing democratization and liberty and political freedom to the people of the MENA region. Thank you, and have a good night.